Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Have to be faithful after that game. Looking forward to game 3. Hey, Dave?
Kurt, I'm glad I'm not 25 or 18 or 10 anymore, because I used to just live the games, right? I was so ego attached to the team.
Yeah.
Now at 62, I don't like it when they lose. And I really feel for the players. I feel for the players, but I don't feel for, it's not me out. I didn't lose. I feel it, but it's not crushing anymore. I'm just sad and disappointed in some of the things that happened last summer, Holloway and Broberg. And I'm sad about the injuries that this team has faced. I was hoping, and I didn't think it was going to be this big a factor. Clearly it is. This team they were unrecognizable as a team, Kurt. And what was it, the 6-2 loss to the Kings, and they were unrecognizable to themselves. They are so disjointed with offsides. How many offsides?
Oh, yeah.
Turnovers.
Misreads.
It's like they are not cohesive.
Yeah.
And
you can see reverse passes where he assumes the guy is where he normally should be and he's not. It just smacks of a group that has not played enough together, right?
It might be something they need to address, to try to get the most familiar groupings of players for the next, because they could do that, right?
Yeah.
There are familiar groupings of players that you could try out here. And I think that might be the best strategy with it. And I'm not criticizing the coach, necessarily for this aspect of the game. It's just it's tough.
It's funny. You used disjointed, and I had the word disconnected in my head.
Yeah.
And somewhere therein lies the truth. Eh?
Discombobulated.
Let's keep coming up with
There's probably
words.
lots of dis words. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to. Yeah.
It's the Dis podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Destructive. All right, Kurt. 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. And because it's kind of a historic, awful loss, we'll go with 2 bad things each. What is your good thing?
My good thing is John Klingberg and Evander Kane. Here are 2 players that had been on LTIR shortly before the playoffs and pretty much shortly before this game. And I think it was fair to say in both cases, we had no idea what we would expect from either player, particularly Kane, who is playing his first game of the season since game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals last year. And both players would have been forgiven for not having it, right? You would have said, they're out there, they're giving the college try. That must be tough, man. But you know what? First on John Klingberg, you and I on the podcast after the game 1 loss talked about why the coaching staff went with Josh Brown. No disrespect to Josh Brown, but why they went with him instead of John Klingberg. And you see tonight, Klingberg played a solid game. Beautiful play on the 3-1 goal, shuffling that puck to the center ice, and then that shot pass, finding a Draisaitl for the deflection to make it 3-1. That's a high skill play. He's not the player that he was when he went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Dallas Stars, but he's a sight better than Josh Brown, and played in a second pairing role all night and didn't look out of place, right? Moved the puck well, skated reasonably well, defended as good as he needed to defend, really. So the good news on that front is you can plug Klingberg in there again in game 3 and you don't have to worry about it. He's fine. Evander Kane, I think, was the bigger question mark. And I thought Evander Kane, frankly, he played better than I thought he would be able to play. His straight ahead speed was fine. He was physical. He had 4 hits. He had 1 dangerous shot on net that had a chance of going in, and was engaged, right? From the word go, he had a hit on his first shift. And you can see that element of Evander Kane has just been missing from this lineup. And from what I saw out of him tonight, and if I kind of scan down the page just to see how much he played tonight, like 1446, right? That's all you need out of Evander Kane, right? So going forward, games 3 and 4, you can write Klingberg into the lineup, you can write Kane into the lineup, and they're fine. Neither player are likely to be what they were in their heyday, but they are real contributing members of this lineup, and they just don't need to worry about that. Put them in and let them go going forward. On a night where there wasn't a hell of a lot to cheer about, those are the two things that I picked out of the sticks.
So we don't know for sure whether Klingberg was ready to go or not in game one, but a very consequential decision. You know, that loss in game one, so it just looms so large now. And
Yep.
Brown was a big part of causing a goal against there. If Klingberg had been in, is it a different game right from the start? Could he have played that well? That was one of his best games as an Oiler. I thought he was the best Oiler on the ice probably overall. And
he was sure noticeable. Hey?
Yeah, that was a fantastic play he made on the goal.
Oh, just lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Kane too. He took it, I was worried he was going to take an early penalty and he did. And normally maybe not such a huge thing to worry about, but right now a huge thing to worry about. Same with Trent Frederick, right? Takes a penalty. Like you're just every time the Oilers take a penalty now, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
No.
But those kind of players, and I know you agree with this, those kind of players are going to take the odd penalty. That's a byproduct of how they play the game, right? So
yeah, he did slam that guy hard into the boards too, Kane. Like
he did.
He got his pound of flash.
He did for sure. But I'll say this player, the player didn't ask for the check, but he made an awkward turn toward the board. So I thought that was a 50-50 call. But at the end of the day, I understand the player giving the hit has a responsibility. I buy that. I think that is how it should be called. So at the end of the day, I didn't have a problem with the call itself.
My good thing is this brief moment in the third period where there was real hope the Oilers were going to come back in this game. Heading into the third, I thought it was extremely unlikely the Oilers were able to mount that kind of energy to come back in the game like they did last game. But all of a sudden, it's 3-2, and it's because of I'm always hoping for a goal, but on that shift, I was just had it in my head like someone else has to score out of the McDavid and Draisaitl. Wouldn't it be nice if Podkolzin, who's worked so hard all year, scored? And he didn't score, but man, he made a nice play. He drove that puck into the offensive zone, deep into the corner, and he made a great button hook move and put the puck back to Kulak, who immediately fired on net. That's a great skill play by those two guys just right there. And Kulak hammers it right at net. And Arvidsson is battling two guys in front and gets a bit of a stick on it. It was just a great goal. Greasy goal, Californian as we call him, an outside shot that gets tipped in. And it was like, my next thought was, all you need is a fluke, like just a fluky goal, some bit of luck in this game, and you could be tied 3-3. And, just not to be the LA Kings, again, the power play took over and the Kings took over, and it was quickly that little fire was quickly doused by the LA Kings.
Well, what's the old saying? The hockey gods giveth and the hockey gods taketh away. Because it was a nice tip by Arvidsson, but then his next shift, one and then two giveaways where he was just trying to force the puck through traffic instead of taking it to a calm zone and starting again. It's the same complaint we had about Bouchard the other night.
The second one, like the first one was he tried to pass it up ice and it got knocked out of the air. The second one, he was just trying to make an easy cross ice pass to the defenseman on the other side of the ice. He was actually trying to make the easy pass, the open pass, the simple pass, and he just muffed it. He just missed the puck. Yeah. And wow.
That's not where I thought he should have put the puck, though. I thought the puck should have gone into the corner instead of out into the middle of the ice. Right?
Yeah.
He's not a defenseman. What I was always taught as a defenseman, when there's trouble, you put the puck to the outside, not the inside. And I think that's the error in judgment that he made there. So I mean, it's amazing how the tide can turn in a hockey game, right? He went 3-2. There's hope. Now it's, as you said, it's just there's a bounce and it's a tie game, but instead it's a giveaway and bang bang, it's 4-2, and it's all over but the crying after that.
Kurt, What is your first bad thing?
Ugh, I had some things to choose from tonight, but let's go with the obvious one, which is special teams. Um, nobody, nobody predicted before this series began um, that the LA Kings would soundly outplay the Edmonton Oilers on special teams. Tonight, the Oilers power play 0 for 3. Now, on the first power play and for part of the second, I thought they had lots of looks, thought they moved the puck around well. But the stat sheet shows 0 for 3. Looking good doesn't count, right? It's you gotta score. We spend all kinds of time attaching blame to goaltenders and defensemen for goals against, but it's we very rarely pin it on forwards for not scoring when they've got a chance to score. But that's only half of the story. The power play goes 0 for 3. The Kings power play goes 3 for 5.
Ow.
3 for 5. I thought that this series would be razor thin 5-on-5, and the Oilers would have the edge in special teams, particularly the power play. And it's the absolute polar opposite 2 games in. And that's why the series is 2-0, if you ask me.
The Kings last year, I remember watching the first game against the Kings and seeing them line up on their penalty kill in that tight little box, and I was thinking, thank goodness. This is the stupidest strategy I've seen. This is the worst thing you can do against the Edmonton Oilers, is give those players time and space to pick you apart. And they did that. Like there was a game against Dallas last year when they first played against a super aggressive penalty kill. And it was scary how effective that Dallas penalty kill last season was against the Oilers. And I was in fear through the playoffs that other teams would adopt that, would see that game and adopt that tactic against the Oilers. And, in the end, I think Florida did and Dallas did. But LA, just that ridiculous. Like, it was almost like you should have fired the coach after the season. It's probably good they didn't, because he learned. Good for him. The Kings coach learned. And he adopted that one series too late, but he adopted it, and it's really effective against the Oilers. It's effective against anyone. You have to have speed, you have to have smarts, and really the Oilers are trying to, because the Oilers played that aggressive PK last year. They're trying to play it this year, Kurt. They don't have the speed at forward. They're missing Fogle, they're missing McLeod. You just really feel it on the PK, that lack of speed from Henrique, that lack of speed from Nuge, even. Mainly from Henrique. They just are getting, they can't contain. They can't get it done because they don't have the wheels. And they're missing, obviously. Wallman had a
rough night.
Wallman had such a rough night. He made 6 major mistakes on grade A shots against in the power play. It was 8-2 for grade A shots in the power play for the Kings. Right. Wallman made errors on 6 of them. And the worst one, of course, this leads into my bad thing, which is Darnell Nurse. But that particular sequence of pain, it's right at the end of Kane's penalty. Kane's in the box. It's right at the end. It's like they've killed it off effectively. And they let Fogle, Connor McDavid them down the wall. Wallman is too aggressive. He just needs to back in. He needs not to be too hyped up. Don't try so hard. Like, just make the safe play. Instead, he gets beat on the wall. And now we have a 2-on-1 down low. Nonetheless, Fogle's still way out to the side. He's not even going to the net. There's no chance of a shot. Darnell Nurse has to play the pass.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that hard. There's only one guy coming up the middle. He could go, because Fogel's in no position to shoot, he had the opportunity to go stand right up to that guy and take out his stick or block his way to the net physically with his body. He made a bad mistake going down on that play. Sometimes it's the right play. Kulak went down on a 2-on-1 in the second period and stopped a sure goal by it hit his foot.
Yep.
But on that play, you've got to read it. Does the shooter have a chance to shoot? Fogle really didn't. There was no reason to go down when he could have just stayed on his feet and taken the shooter quite easily, taken his stick. He goes down. It goes right by him, and he didn't block the pass either. So, and then I think it's Brant Clark who just jams it right in the net. Poor Stuart Skinner. uh, what a rough game. I just thought his teammates abandoned him. The worst play of the game, though, to me, the deciding play is was the 2-0 play for the Kings. It is a nothing play in the Oilers zone. Nothing is happening. The puck goes around to the boards. Leon Draisaitl is battling with a Kings player. The puck bounces out just behind Draisaitl. Shouldn't be a problem. There should be a defenseman there in position to get that puck and reverse it the other way or skate it out of trouble or whatever. Darnell
Except,
Nurse is he reverted to bad habits.
yeah,
Instead of playing it safe, he was too aggressive this game. He was trying to get too involved in the attack, and he was too high on this play. And he was just watching it. In the end, he was watching it unfold as Quinton Byfield streaks by him into the spot where he should be and goes. And this is like for Skinner. Someone was saying like Skinner should have had that. They were telling me, "Are you kidding?" Quinton Byfield had a straight arrow right to the net. And the reason he had that is because Darnell Nurse is nowhere to be seen. He is wandering in the red light zone, not covering anyone, not covering a passing lane. Bouchard is there, but he has got to cover the seam pass because
yep,
there's a player in just deadly shooting position in the slot. And if the pass is made over, boom, it's in the net. So Bouchard makes the right play. Skinner makes the right play. Byfield makes a fantastic shot, but he has all the time in the world to make that shot because it's the most deadliest of 2-on-1s, quickly forming. The two Kings players in exactly the right spot. No one harassing the puck carrier because you can't. It was a terrible play by Darnell Nurse, and he can't make that Kurt. He's too old. He's too expensive. He's expensive. Excuse me. Experienced. That was a Freudian slip. He's too experienced. He's got to play that safe. He's got to make that read correct. He didn't.
yep, yeah. When you are closer to the blue line than your centerman is, you're out of position as a defenseman, which was the case with Nurse there. I absolutely agree that Bouchard had to cover for the pass. I did think Bouchard was passive on the play.
Maybe.
I thought he could have been a little more aggressive and still covered off the pass, but he certainly wasn't the primary guy at fault there. It was Nurse, and I'm with you on Skinner. It's like I've scored goals on an NHL quality goaltender on plays like that, and I was no goal scorer. When you're all alone and you have all kinds of time, you can score that type of goal. It's there's lots of things.
That's a guy with good hands.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and remember at the start of the series, I said, maybe this will be a different series if a guy like Byfield really shows up. Well, he's been really good over 2 games. I wanted to throw one other thing in on special teams just to back up for a second because you said something that really made me think. You said, you know what, the Kings learned from their mistake. They looked at the tape and they changed their PK. Well, didn't Glenn Gulletson have a chance to see video of the LA PK? Surely he knew what was coming.
The Oilers have been facing this PK all year, though. Like almost every team is aggressive now, right? There's only like a handful of teams that aren't. So it's a similar tactic. And McDavid, what you do against aggression is you beat the first man with a quick pass or a quick move, and you take it to the net. And McDavid's done that a few times where he's been really dangerous. And actually, why don't I just segue to my second bad thing because this is it. He does that on a first period power play. He spins off a guy that's a different play. Anyway, I'll stick with it. But on that power play, he gets the puck down low and he makes a great head fake. Totally gets everyone moving in one direction, and then he takes it low and he hits Hyman, who's wide open in the slot. And my bad thing is that Hyman is unable to score, and it just felt consequential in the moment. Like LA had already scored on their great scoring chance, right? Like Brant Clark slammed that home. Hyman got one right off the pad, and then the puck goes through the goalie. It's sitting there, and he's going to put it in the net. and Gavrikov comes over with his big stick, and Hyman, they clash for the puck, and Gavrikov blocks the shot. He blocks the 5-alarm shot from going in the net. It just felt in that moment like Hyman would have scored last year on that play, and I just felt, oh, is that it? Like, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the story of the Oilers in the playoffs this year? Just out of sync, not what they were. Hyman was injured too, right? He's coming off injury and just back in the game. It's not happening yet. Like, listen, this isn't over. Not saying it's over. I remember the Oilers being down 2 games to San Jose and winning the next 4. This team's perfectly capable of winning the next 4. It's perfectly capable of winning 4 out of 5. It could do that, but it doesn't feel like that right now, that's for sure. And it's plays like that. It's this lack of synchronicity that is holding them back.
My second bad thing is goaltending. And I'm positive there are people out there in the fan base tonight who are blaming that loss on Stuart Skinner. I'm here to tell you, he ain't why they lost tonight. But here's why I picked it. That's my bad thing. There's 2 reasons why I picked it. One, when that game is close, you need him to stop a puck that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
And you just talked about the Hyman goal not going in. That's a goal that the LA goaltender probably shouldn't have stopped, right? But did. I thought Skinner stopped every puck he should have stopped tonight, but he didn't stop one that he shouldn't have stopped. He didn't steal one.
Yeah.
Particularly when it was still within reach. When it's 5-2 or 6-2, who cares? So he was still the second best goaltender on the ice, where I wasn't sure about that in game 1. But now here's the other bad thing. Now I don't think you know who you start in game 3. I was positive that Skinner would be the starter in game 1. No matter how game 1 went, I was positive they would go back with him in game 2 because he's their guy. But in game 3, David, if you stick with the same guy in game 3 and you lose, the series is all but over.
Yeah.
If you're changing goaltenders, now is the time. Changing the goaltender after you're down 3-0 is like shutting the barn door after all the horses have run out. I think this is the time for that strategic decision, whether they do or whether they don't. It ain't going to help when you're down 3-0. And he's allowed 11 goals in 2 games. Is Calvin Pickard really going to be worse than that?
It's a change, right? It's something to rally around. Like Stu's had a couple tough games. Let's go with Pick. Like you could just because I thought they should have gone to Pickard tonight, and that would have been my call. I wasn't that mad when they picked Skinner, though. I wasn't mad at all. Like I just thought, well, that's not. I was really happy they were going with Klingberg and Kane, and I wonder if they would have gone with Kane if the LTIR thing hadn't been hanging over their heads.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? How Vegas just gets away with that willfully.
And Florida plays good shit.
Yeah, and all that, but God forbid, I saw a joke online tonight, which was, well, Kane's in the game, we're going to lose a draft pick.
Well, it's terrible, isn't it, Kirk? Because it finally comes up as an issue. Suddenly, that's a big issue when the Oilers do it. Right? It's been done for years.
Yeah,
it has been done for years.
Teams have won cups doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Anyway, yeah.
I have one thing I want to get to, but it can go after our numbers. It's a bigger thought.
You know what? So it's on Skinner. I gave him a 4. I think that's your comment's really fair. Like a save was needed, but those goals, okay, we've already talked about the first 2. Clark jamming it in on a centering pass, and then Byfield scoring right on that play, and then Kuzmenko that shot is fired off the boards. It comes back like a bullet right on his stick, and bam, it's in the net. It's
that was a gift, and your goaltender has to be high to deal with the screen and the shot from the point. He has to be up top like that. So I didn't blame that on him. It maybe looked a little iffy, but he's in the right position.
And even so, Wallman, like he was the guy on that side with Kuzmenko, and maybe he should have been covering him. But again, he's kind of fronting a little bit. Like then the next goal is this wide open lightning strike by Kempe after the turnover on the Arvidsson play, and
Kempe
it's
can
like
shoot.
he's screaming in.
Yeah.
And then the fifth one is a scene pass to Kopitar. Like okay, but you are right. Their grade A shots are 5 alarm shots. Even 5 alarm shots are only supposed to go in 33% of the time. If he had saved two of those, then it's a different game.
One of them,
because Kemper did. Yeah, even one of them, because Kemper stopped Hyman's first 5 alarmer, right? And then the rebound, his defenseman got it. And it just felt like the game. Okay, we've done our bad things. We are on to our numeros. Kurt, what is your numero?
My numero is my related to my wrongo, related to my bad thing. So far, in 2 games in the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs, the Edmonton Oilers have surrendered 3 power play goals. In the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs,
just wait. No, it's not 3. Kurt, you said 3 power play. How many? It's 5.
No, I said 5. I said 5.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. So 2 games, they've allowed 5 power play goals.
Yeah.
In the 2024 playoffs, in 25 games, they allowed 4. So we've already allowed more power play goals in 2 games than we did last year when we went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. Kind of makes you cry, doesn't it? Like, the numbers don't lie. I go back to what I said, right? Who thought that I don't think anybody thought the Oilers were going into the playoffs firing on all cylinders, but who thought that the special teams battle would go that far wrong?
Oh, they can't win a face-off even. Like, it's just brutal. Like, everything's just going wrong. It's just,
yeah.
It's there was the nice short-handed chance by McDavid there for a second when he set up Connor Brown.
Connor Brown, yeah. If that goes in, it's a different game too, right?
It's another big save by Kemper, right? Like, that's a big save.
That Skinner didn't make, right? Stu stopped every puck he was supposed to stop, but what's your number?
Okay. My number is 1. So let's say the Oilers have 7 main units on the team, 4 forward lines, and 3 sets of defensemen.
3 pairings, right? Yep.
Yeah. Only one of those units had players who regularly played with each other in the regular season. Every other one of those units had at least one guy who didn't regularly play with the other 2, and some of them had more than that. So if we go down the list, top line, Draisaitl, McDavid, Corey Perry. Corey Perry doesn't regularly play with those 2 guys. Second line, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and Kane. None of those guys regularly play with each other. Not one of them. Yep. Third line, we got Frederick. What's the
Henrique
third line?
And Brown.
Frederick, Henrique, and Brown. So Henrique and Brown regularly have played together, but of course Frederick's new to the team. Yep. And then the next line, Podkolzin, Arvidsson, and Janmark. Podkolzin and Arvidsson regularly play together, but Janmark, he doesn't usually play center, and he doesn't usually play with those 2 guys. Yep. It was, now that I see it and put it all together and put it together with the performance we just saw, maybe it wasn't the best decision to do that. Maybe they should have gone to known lines, McDavid, Hyman, and Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson. How about Janmark, Henrique, and Brown? And then that would give you a third line of Kane, Frederick, and Perry. Kane, Henrique. No, Kane. No, we've already dealt with. Who would be? You'd have Frederick, Kane, and who's the last forward?
Nugent Hopkins.
No, he'd be on the top line on the wing.
Oh.
Anyway, that would be the 4th line.
Yeah, and then I guess the D pairings, right? Bouchard and Nurse normally don't play together.
Correct.
Klingberg and Wallman.
Yeah, Klingberg and Wallman don't play together. The only ones
No,
that play together are
was
Kulak and
and
Emerson.
Emberson.
It would be Kane, uh,
And Kulak and
Perry, and
Emberson were their best
Kane,
pairings
Perry,
tonight.
and Frederick. You'd have Kane, Perry, and Frederick as your fourth line,
Right.
and that again that would be the only line then of the three that didn't play together regularly. The other three would really know each other, and I think they should probably think about this for the next game and go with more known. Like I would like to see. I think there's something about Wallman and Bouchard that I just think they'll work together well, better than Nurse and Bouchard. Maybe Stetcher will be back if Nurse and Stetcher can play together, and then you have, let's say, Klingberg and Kulak. I just think with the known lines that I just listed, that might work better in Game 3.
Of course, this is all different if Ekholm is here playing with Bouchard. Then you can have Nurse with Wallman, and I think Nurse Wallman is the ideal pairing, right? But you can't do that with Ekholm not in.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's just all foobar
yeah,
because of Ekholm's injury and all of these injuries.
yeah.
And so the coach was he wanted to get. It starts with the first piece. He wants to play McDavid and Draisaitl together. On the road, though, that's actually a better unit to use at home because then you can put them out there. You can line match on the road, putting them together. Then you can line. You can put your top checkers against them every single time off a face-off. And that line was shut down essentially at even strength. It got very little done at even strength after dominating the last game. So you can see why he did it, right? Like it really worked in Game 1, but
I'm not sure I agree with that. When you look at their scoring chances for and against 5-on-5, McDavid, Draisaitl, actually their numbers are really good. CF 5-on-5, the CF for McDavid and Draisaitl were both over 70%.
just let me check one thing, Kurt. 97 FS.
Yeah, McDavid was
FS.
1431 5-on-5 was 17-7, 70% CF, and Draisaitl was 17-6, 70, just about 74%.
Kurt, I have them generating 2 grade A shots between them. McDavid had 1 grade A shot on net, and Draisaitl had 1 at even strength, and McDavid had 1 at even strength. That's they just McDavid.
They had all kinds of possession, right?
Yeah, but he had 1 contribution to a grade A shot at even strength. He averages like 4 a game usually. Yeah. Draisaitl did have 4, and Perry had 1. So they conjured up 2 grade A shots, that line. You need Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to conjure up like 5 or 6 grade A shots between them at even strength, and that's why I don't think that worked. But
I guess I hear you, but the bigger problem I think was that the other 3 lines didn't piss a drop, right?
Yes, that is the bigger problem. It just, and again, I would have done this too. I would have what Knobloch did. This is in retrospect. I'm not saying it's the obvious thing. They had such a success and they took over. You think, and in the first period they came out flying. They looked great, but as the game went on, they got less and less effective. I felt, and they weren't.
Yeah. Look, I think the blender effect is very observant of you. I hadn't picked up on that. You're 100% right. Everybody's playing with a relatively unfamiliar partner. And at such a critical time of the year, that can't be ideal. I think that's really sharp on your part. I hadn't noticed it. So.
Well, when I looked at the lineup earlier today, I didn't think of it. I just think this is the best group of forwards I think I've seen on the Oilers. Like the players are like, these are all really good hockey players.
On paper, this is a good lineup, right?
On paper. But on the ice, maybe in the right combinations, though, this could still work.
So I promised before we would wrap up tonight, I had a bigger, broader thought. Okay, if I share that with you now?
Go ahead.
All year we've been waiting for the real version of the Oilers to kick in. But all the way through the season, one thing or another happened, and they never really got rolling. The goaltending would struggle. The PK would struggle. You'd have injuries to McDavid, Draisaitl, you lose Ekholm. The hits just kept on coming, man. And I was starting to think towards the end of the regular season, finally we're almost healthy, finally. But then down the stretch, they kind of made sure everybody was in quotes healthy to the point where nobody played with one another. And so I'm sitting here now down 2-0 to the LA Kings, and I'm an Oilers fan, and I want them to win. But I just wonder what shade of rose-colored glasses I've been wearing all season long, that I couldn't that I couldn't see what was going on. That, you know what? Maybe this just isn't the year. Because when you start to count up all the things that have gone awry this season for the Oilers, you run out of fingers pretty fast.
And it starts before the season, right, with Holloway and Broberg, right?
Yeah,
This huge kick, this huge punch. It's, let's face it, Kurt, a knockout blow.
Yep. And then the brand new GM has to pivot, like the day he's on the job. And it's like they've never recovered. That's a good observation, too. In fact, I could punt that all the way back to Ken Holland, who I blame for Philip Broberg's departure. But so you're right. They've never really gotten up off the canvas, have they?
Not from that moment. They were reeling. They lost so much speed, and on a team that couldn't lose speed because they'd already traded away McLeod and Fogle. And it's almost like they needed to do more to bring Matt Savoy and Philp into the lineup. Like it's hard to break in. Like, you have all these veteran players, they're signed to big deals, but they needed an injection of something. And both of those, like Philp, he may be a better player right now than Adam Henrique, and people don't like to hear that. And
I do think he's a better NHL center than Matthias Janmark.
Yeah, like why? But they just won't do that because they're not prepared for it. And Savoy, like, he's a quick player. Maybe they needed to try that, but who's he going to take out of the lineup? Matt Savoy, it's tough. And then they trade for Trent Frederick, right? Like, yippee, they got this aggressive forward, and it's just one thing. But the worst thing was, I've been saying for the last 2 months, the Oilers can win the Cup if two things happen: they remain healthy, and they play championship defense. They're not close to doing either of those things. They're not healthy. They're not playing championship defense. And those are the two most important things, because you can't count on these goalies to steal games very often. It might happen like 1 in 10 or like 1 in 20 games, they'll steal a game. Yeah. One game in the playoffs. You've got to play championship defense. They did it at even, like, they weren't bad at even strength tonight, but they just got sieved on the power play. It was just horrible.
Yeah. Now, you're right about the goaltenders. The Oilers have goaltending that is good enough, right? But not great. That they made a conscious decision. The general manager before Stan Mullen made a decision: I'm going to go with cheap, decent goaltending because I think the rest of the team is good enough to overcome that. And this isn't a shot at the goaltenders. Maybe they're not.
Yeah. Well, you made a good point tonight, Kurt, about Skinner needing to make a big save. I was maybe a little easy on him in my game grade, but
I don't think you were unfair with him. But when you kind of look at the big picture, one big save in any one of those moments when it's still a 2-goal game is probably the difference between winning and losing.
Because it can be electrifying for the team to see that, and it just wasn't. Yep. Hey, all right, Kurt. Let's call it a night, man, and we'll get back at it. What's today? Is it Friday night then, the next game? Or is
Friday night's the next game. My game grade's up next. So,
all right. Kurt, thanks for talking tonight.
Always good to talk to you, David.
And in the meantime, and in between times, and until we meet again, Bruce McCurdy in the Hall of Our Fathers, having a cold one, or 2 or 3 or 4, with the Hockey Gourds tonight. This has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.